As we are talking here right now, Jerome Powell is finishing up his speech from the FOMC day. What does his comments mean, though, for the future of Bitcoin, crypto, and the stock market? We're going to be wrapping all of that up today. We got a great show lined up. We'll tell you what's going on with FOMC. We're going to talk about three altcoins. We're going to have a little game on the channel today. Three altcoins. If you could only own three, what three would it be? And also, we have some interesting comments coming from a world favorite at this point. Whether you love him or hate him, your people can't stop talking about Donald Trump. We're going to talk about his recent comments here as well. Guess what you guys saw with that fancy intro? And you see the blue outline around me? That is the marking right there that T-Shroom is back. He's here on the show. We're also joined by Caleb Franzen. But before we introduce them, let's roll that intro. All right. What's going on, people? First of all, Caleb, I love you very, very much. I'm going to ask you a question in a second. I've not gotten to see T-Shroom on the show with me in a week, so I got to start off. T-Shroom, how are you doing?
I'm doing better than I deserve, Tim.
Let's
go. It's good to be back.
I was worried it was going to be something different. You know, you leave me for a week. I didn't know if you were a completely changed man or what was going on. So good to have you back. You know, we have a members only stream afterwards. We're going to keep the chit chat here in the beginning to a minimum, but come to the member stream if you're one of our YouTube members, and we'll get to hear some stories about T-Shroom's adventures out west. But now, Caleb, we are, of course, very, very honored and humbled to have you on with us once again. Didn't have you on last week, but the hair's still growing. It's got a new background behind you. It looks like you are flourishing. How are you doing, my man?
Doing well. So wait, T-Shroom, did you just go on a honeymoon?
I did.
Yeah,
where'd you go?
Durango, Colorado. We rode the Durango to Silverton Railroad. It was a lot of fun.
That is so funny. There's a university or a college out in Durango that I used to want to go to when I was younger for some random reason. So that's what a coincidence. But dude, I hope you had a great time. It's a pleasure to be on the same show as a little family reunion here, you know, amongst the bros.
Yeah. It was amazing.
The good old Wednesdays, the hump day trio of T-Shroom, Tim, and Caleb. Before we get going, guys, you got to smash the like button if you love the channel. We want to get more people in here, so smash the like. If you're new, you don't have to hit subscribe just yet, but consider it as the show progresses. Before we get into every little detail, and there's going to be a lot, let's go ahead and share my screen here, T-Shroom. Let's talk about what the market is doing right now, starting off with the bubbles. The bubbles going crazy, none bigger, though, in the last 24 hours than LPT. What is LPT? Live Peer. Okay, well, if you guys are invested in Live Peer, you had a nice little 27% pump here in the last 24 hours, but Knott's not doing that bad. No pun intended right there. Injective, one of the purchases that I actually made yesterday on the dip, so I'm glad to see one of my picks. Render as well. I purchased more Render, got more Ondo, had a couple others here as well. Stacks is doing well. It's actually crazy. Stacks on the 24 hours only 0.8 or 8.7. I was noticing, though, when I was looking at the chart here, where is it down here? It's one of my bigger gainers on the day, despite the fact that we just had a big bearish candle here on the hourly chart. Stacks still up almost 10% since the daily candle open. That's a better way to look at it. One of the biggest gains of the coins that I watch here. Let's check up with the top 10, though. Let's see how they are performing as a whole. Bitcoin up a measly 2.6%. Same for Ethereum, around 2.6 as well. Solana with a nice bump up 5.4%. XRP2. Doge. It does look like Doge is our top 10 biggest gainer, 7%. Toncoin up 6.4. Cardano 4.5. Sheeb 4. Avalanche 6. But as a whole, shout out to Dogecoin. Most things are bullish right now, and I'm not going to jump into the charts. Well, you know what? Actually, I got to show people something real quick. Did talk about this morning on our special live show for the CPI data. Do you guys remember the level I told you? Watch out for this rally to potentially face some good rejection. It was right here on the 4-hour chart. It was right at about 69.8 to 70,000, give or take. I said, watch out. If we can't close a 4-hour candle up a high, we could see a little bit of a pullback. Well, we're going to dive into why things are pulling back and how long things will pull back based off of the comments of Jerome Powell. However, This is playing out just perfectly as we called it this morning with that order block and that 4-hour red cloud right there, the smart trail from Lux Algo, giving us a perfect rejection. How long before we break through it? We'll have to discuss here in a second, but that's the chart. I want to start off there. Tishan, let's go back to our trio. Just in case any of you guys are maybe at work or you just aren't really on Twitter following things, I want to make sure you guys understand what's happening. All the kerfuffle right now is because today is the FOMC day when the Fed announces what they want to do with interest rates. Well, for, I don't know, is it the 7th or 8th time in a row? We have stayed exactly still. No rate hike, no rate cut. We're at 5.5. But there's been some interesting comments made within the last half an hour, and we're going to break that down for you guys on the show today. Should you be bullish? As the title and the thumbnail suggests, there are predictions out there that if things go correctly, Bitcoin could make it to 100,000 before December. We're going to break it down for you, starting off with good old Caleb. Now, Caleb, let's start off there. What are your thoughts about a potential $100,000 Bitcoin before 2025?
Sounds bearish.
Bearish. Okay, there we go. All right.
I'm being serious though. I mean, what we're like 30 to 40% away from 100,000 right now, right? Like let's round up. Yeah. Let's say we're at 70,000. I think we're like 40% away, 45%, and so that's the number, around 45%. So
I think it's about 45, 46, yeah.
I think I did a post about this not too long ago, but on a rolling 6-month basis, Bitcoin is up well over 60%. Since the May 1st lows, Bitcoin is up over 40%. So, we can go through those 40% gains in a matter of 6 weeks, right? So we're talking about 6 months. What does the next 6 months? I would not be surprised. I would be surprised if Bitcoin does not hit 100,000 over the next 6 months.
Hey, you heard it here first. Caleb, he thinks we're too bearish looking at only 100,000. The reason that's brought up, I bring that up. There was an article we talked about this morning on the live show. It was actually from a guy from Quant, a crypto Quant, looking at the last time we saw the same level of low interest from retail investors that was in Bitcoin here this last week. It was back to January of 2024. He went on to explain Bitcoin would go on from 40,000 up to 74, which was a 75% increase in price. So he was predicting we potentially could do the same thing and go up to 120. I gave a little bit of pushback. I thought 120 was a little bit too soon, but it sounds like you might be in further agreement with him. What is your number? If 100 is too bearish, what is your number that Caleb Franz is looking at for the top of just 2024? Of course, we have 2025, but 2024, what's the highest we can get to?
Somewhere above 100,000. I mean, I don't know. People try to get crazy with these predictions and be like, oh, we can get to 150,000 in the next 6 months. Look, it's possible. I really don't think it's crazy to get to 100,000 over the next 6 months because we've seen evidence clearly that Bitcoin can make those leaps and bounds within that specific period of time. Guys, we're in a bull market. This should not be a secret. So target should be to the upside. We don't want to be on here and go crazy with the targets, talking about 250,000 by the end of the year. That's one of the reasons why, even for my cycle prediction, I made it a cycle prediction. I didn't make it a time-based prediction because I don't know when the cycle is going to peak. I don't know how long the cycle is going to last. So with my cycle prediction, and even what I did in that cycle prediction is I said no less than 175,000. So I'm giving room to the upside, but I think 175 is the base case target for this bull market. So for us to get to 100,000 over the next 6 months, in my opinion, seems reasonable. Like I said, we're like 45% away from that right now.
Yeah, before we keep going deeper into this, because we got to talk a lot about Bitcoin. If you have anything specific you want to show on the charts, Caleb, let us know and we'll go look there. But T-Shroom, what about you? Where are you sitting in this camp? I kind of this morning said I think that 100,000 is doable before the end of the year. Sounds like Caleb thinks we go a little bit higher than that. Where are you in this scenario?
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised that we've lingered, just below the 70,000 level after going through it and putting in the new all-time highs. The pressure has been building to the upside. Very, very bullish headlines coming out. One of the biggest ones that to my memory is when the Wisconsin pension fund said that they were picking up Bitcoin, and they did. That's extremely bullish, and there's reasons why price hasn't exploded to the upside, and I think a lot of that is just timing, right? Big money is on the sidelines waiting to rotate. But ultimately, there's that supply shock that is going to come in. With that happens every time that there is a Bitcoin halving. That's why the Bitcoin halving is such a big deal. And so it's just a matter of when, not if, at this point. And folks who are just getting into the market may feel like, they bought up at 71, right? And they're down, and they're like, should I sell? And I can understand that. But the reality is that the price not going up doesn't mean it won't. It just means that it hasn't yet. But there's so much bullishness, and we're going to cover a headline involving former President Donald Trump, and it just adds to the pile of bullish pressure that's building that eventually will push Bitcoin's price up to new all-time highs.
Yeah. Can I highlight something here as well, T-Shroom? If you want to go to my screen, I'm sharing something here about seasonality. Do you guys have it up?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So this is a little bit outdated with the red line, but just focus on the blue line. This is all election years since 1950, the aggregate composite path of the S&P 500. We're now in June, early June, right? So look at the expected trajectory of the S&P 500 in all election years since 1950. This is bullish, right?
Yeah.
And certainly I'm not saying that the market is going to follow this to a T. That'd be irresponsible. I don't believe that. But what this is telling us, there's enough of a sample of data here to say, typically during the second half of an election year, bullish tailwinds tend to persist. We might get some chop going into that election period as uncertainty comes into the market. And then boom, as soon as that election is in the rearview mirror, regardless of who gets elected, markets tend to move higher in the fourth quarter. So guys, all of this is very bullish. If the stock market is correlated to Bitcoin, or vice versa, however you want to say it, right? Then this is clearly going to create bullish tailwinds for Bitcoin itself and all of crypto for that matter.
Yep. Yeah. I think that's phenomenal. Now we got to get into, because again, it's already 3:12. We have not even come close to wrapping up the details right now of unfolding what Bitcoin price is going to do, especially based off of what's happening today. I'm going to warn everybody. We're about to get into a section of what some people get uncomfortable about, but I think is extremely healthy. A little bit of debate, a little bit of disagreement, but ultimately a little bit of kind of going back and forth and trying to wrestle with what the future looks like. Caleb, of course, always comes on in, and he's very adamant, and for very good reasons, very adamant about holding. Right now, we still see about 6 months before a rate cut happens. Some people look at that, and they think of that as a very bearish thing. However, Caleb, of course, if he's thinking we're going to go over 100,000 before the end of 2024, he has a scenario where we do not cut rates whatsoever in 2024, and it's still bullish. Caleb, I'd love for you to go in on that, and then I'll give some of my thoughts right after. But again, I want you to give you the platform. Because a lot of people, let me set it up a little more. A lot of people think that we have to see rate cuts for Bitcoin's price to go to the upside. Why is that opinion wrong?
Why do we not need rate cuts for the market to go higher?
Yeah. Why, if we can stay right here at 5.5,
sure,
why could that be the catalyst for Bitcoin going much, much higher?
Good question, Tim.
Well, it won't necessarily be the catalyst for Bitcoin going higher, but we've clearly seen evidence that Bitcoin and asset prices can move higher in a high interest rate environment. We're seeing that now. Why? Sure. Because forward earnings continue to rise. Forward growth expectations for the United States continue to rise from a GDP perspective. So when we have corporate profits at all-time highs, margins rising for the S&P 500, and they continue to increase because analysts are increasing their expectations about future earnings, this is all a great sign. On the back of continued disinflation, we saw evidence of that again today with the CPI data for the month of May. On the back of resilient and dynamic labor market data. Guys, I know the unemployment rate just went from 3.9% to 4%, but this is historically low unemployment nonetheless. And in my opinion, that uptick in the unemployment rate happened because of something like the labor force participation rate, which is now at multi-decade highs in prime age labor force participation, well above the pre-COVID high level range. And so we have all of these different things taking place. Also, we're in a trend. We're in a bull market. Markets have price memory. Markets are forward-looking pricing mechanisms, and asset prices trend. These are things that we know for a fact. So when we have all of the weight of the evidence suggesting that the economy is resilient and dynamic, disinflation is still intact, we don't need rate cuts now because, again, the market is a forward-looking pricing mechanism. So as long as those rate cuts are on the horizon and as long as they're coming, hint, hint, they are, then the markets can feel free to continue to move higher. We've seen evidence of that. We will continue to see evidence of that.
That's very good. And by the way, I think anyone, even if you disagree with what Caleb's saying, I think you hear him and you're like, man, I would love it. Even if we don't have rate cuts, we should be bullish. But I'm going to stretch you here a little bit, Caleb. What is your scenario? Because if you're already bullish and we're not getting any rate cuts in 2024, what's your scenario if we do see them? Show my screen here real quick, T-Shroom. These are the recent dot plots come out this month. These are the dots that are voted by the different members of the Fed. And so we have 4 different members anticipating. Now, these dots don't mean they're guaranteeing this or locking these in. They're just projecting. By the end of 2024, 4 are still saying, they're kind of in agreement with Caleb right here, saying we're going to stay at 5.5. But then 7 are voting that we'll cut at least by 25 basis points. We'll be down to 5.25. But then there's 8 saying we're going to get down to 5 itself. So we have a mass majority actually pricing in right now, or sorry, expecting that we should see rate cuts coming. You move over to the CME futures, and I know, Caleb, you might not be the biggest believer in this, but of course I always like to bring it up. This was June, so who cares? We already know the answer to that one. We still see 91% chance in July we won't see rates cut at all. But we are seeing September start to bake in. There's only a 36.5% predictability here. They're predicting that it will have at least that will say the same. Sorry. So that leaves us what, 43.5% saying we'll have at least one rate cut. When you move into November, you're sitting at more like 75%. And then you go to December, only 7% believe we won't cut at least once. A lot of people right now predicting we'll see 1, probably 2, if not 3 or 4 rate cuts. I know you think it's not going to happen, so that's not my question. My question is, how much more bullish, or in your scenario, is that bearish if we do get rate cuts for the rest of the year?
If we get disinflationary or non-recessionary rate cuts before I expect, then that just means markets are going to move even higher and even faster than I expect. So I'm bullish absent of rate cuts this year. And so if those disinflationary and or non-recessionary rate cuts happen, right, what I'm trying to say is, if we don't have a recession and the Fed cuts, right, so they're not cutting in response to a crisis, then asset prices are going to move much higher, much faster than I expect. I'm not a melt-up hypothesis kind of guy. That's not what I'm trying to say, because I truly believe that this market, as I said before, is backed by fundamentals and a strong justification for asset prices to move higher. But all else being equal, if rate cuts come sooner than anticipated, then by all means, that's going to mean that asset prices are going to go up even more.
Yeah, and I would say that it's not going to happen, because the Fed, Jerome Powell, everything that I've observed about him is he's a straight shooter. He's gonna use and wait to use those tools that he has at the Fed until there is a crisis. And right now, there's not really a crisis. There could be some looming on the horizon. I'm sure there's plenty of people who will make that argument. I, like Jerome Powell, don't see the need to cut rates right now. I think it would be premature, and that's why I don't think that he is. And I don't think that's why he's going to. Doesn't mean that Microsoft, Google, Apple, Bitcoin doesn't get a bit higher, right? Both of these things can be true. You can have no rate cuts, and you can also have asset prices go higher. And that's because they're bringing more value to the economy, right? Right? Or at least money wants to rotate into those assets to escape, inferior assets, whatever it may be. So yeah, that's kind of the way that I see it as well.
Yeah, I'll tell you this, and everything you said here, Caleb, I think is 100% amazing. It's awesome. And if it plays out the way you say, I think it's going to be very good as well. I'm going to go ahead and be on a limb here, though. And this is where Caleb and I will disagree. I think we will get one rate cut before the end of the year. I really hope that Caleb's right about that he's like, well, if you do get one, it should go even higher than his, he didn't really give us a number necessarily, but what he's saying, like, it'll be even more bullish if that rate cut. And what I'm seeing right now, unless something changes dramatically, I do think, and I'll get your thought on this one, Caleb, too, because we actually have time still in this segment. One of my reasons for being more confident about a rate cut coming, it's not even just to do with the American inflation numbers, even though we see inflation going down. I think Jerome Powell, I think we're going to get to this, but Jerome Powell even kind of admitting some of the job report numbers were a little inaccurate. What's the word he uses, T-Shroom?
Edward Snowden actually reposted this. He said Powell's quote was, "There is an argument that payrolls may be a bit overstated, And Edward Snowden said, "Not sure I've ever seen the chairman of the Federal Reserve publicly accuse the White House of cooking the books on employment numbers." But here we are. I think Edward Snowden might be reading a little bit into it, but hey, it doesn't take much for that takeaway to be true.
Yeah, my point here is I don't think that surprises anyone. I think we all assumed that some of those numbers were a little cooked, is a good way to put it. But I'm not even talking about those being the major details. Something that has emerged here recently, and I'm really interested in your thought on this one, because you obviously studied macroeconomics and world economics a lot more than I have. But with Canada and Europe recently cutting rates, especially if they continue to cut rates, there is a dynamic. Correct me if I'm wrong, but from my little bit of research, there's a dynamic with the world economy that if you start to see one currency, the dollar, get too powerful over the other countries that they do trade with, it could have very detrimental effects on the world economy. And of course, with the trickle effect, if the world economy starts to struggle, because we've gone full flown, we depend upon the world economy doing well, that could be detrimental for the US. So could there not, as time persists, they didn't have to do it here in here in June, but as time persists, could there be pressure for the United States to follow suit and cut rates as well? Or is that just a bunch of baloney in your opinion?
Dude, there is zero pressure on the Fed with respect to these other central banks moving first. It's the exact opposite. The pressure was on these other central banks to cut before the Fed, because now they're signaling they're likely going to cut more going forward. They've made an inflection in their monetary policy stance. So they're basically signaling to the market, guys, hint, hint, we're likely going to be cutting rates going forward from now on. So come buy not your treasuries, but come buy your European government bonds, your Canadian government bonds now before rates get lower. So they're trying to stimulate demand for their future fiat money, right? In the United States, right? What's the impact of that actually going to be? Investors now are looking at Canadian government debt yielding a lower amount versus the US is still yielding a very high amount, right? 6-month treasury, 5.34%. And so they're saying global investors who have the ability to invest anywhere they want are now looking at this and saying, why the hell would I invest in the Bank of Canada for a lower yield? I might get some of that capital appreciation, but in a world of uncertainty, I want the highest possible yield that I can on a risk-adjusted basis. That's still the United States. So oddly enough, this is the whole dollar milkshake theory type dynamic. As these other central banks are actually cutting rates, this is only going to stimulate more demand for US dollars, more demand for US treasuries. There's no pressure on the Fed. This is accretive.
Interesting. Okay. Again, and maybe what I researched was a little off there. And again, I trust Caleb Franzen very highly.
I could say like it wasn't off. If you're looking at the correlation between the Bank of Canada interest rate versus the Federal Reserve effective Fed funds rate, they're going to move very similarly because all of the last major inflections in policy have come with a crisis. Mm-hmm. They had to cut drastically after 2000, 2001. They had to cut drastically in 2007, 2008. They had to cut drastically in 2020 and then bring interest rates back higher. So global central banks have moved in synchrony. Just because that's happened in the past doesn't necessarily mean that now that these other central banks have cut rates, that the Fed all of a sudden needs to follow suit. Everyone else is on the Fed's time. The Fed does not put any pressure from these other central banks. That needs to be hammered home completely.
Yeah, and I don't know offhand what the facts on the ground are, but I would imagine that the unemployment rate in the EU, in the UK, and in Canada are probably less favorable at this point than in the United States. Whether or not the books are being cooked in one way or another, I think that the unemployment rate in America, as Caleb would like to say, is much more dynamic and resilient.
Yeah,
I think there was a chart that we talked about on here like 3 weeks ago where it was looking at 2024 real GDP growth estimates for the US, Japan, and Europe.
Right.
And in Japan and Europe and England, for that matter, the UK, 2024 growth estimates were declining. The only place where they were increasing and drastically was in the United States, right? So again, as we think about why has the stock market been so strong, it's because growth expectations for 2024 continue to get revised higher and higher. The economy continues to be resilient and dynamic. And in fact, there's material evidence that the economy continues to accelerate rather than decelerate.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we move on for this topic, guys, if you're enjoying the show so far, you got to smash the like button. Now you can go ahead and hit subscribe. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the show. Let's go back to my chart here real quickly, T-Shroom, before we leave this topic. So Bitcoin has come back down. Interestingly, though, there is a level, this rising support that Bitcoin had been on for a while and then lost. We're finding support right in that level, so keep an eye on that one. But you see a big bearish candle. I'm on the 2-hour chart. Not really certain why I'm on the 2-hour chart. Big blue candles here on Bitcoin. Don't worry that much about it. This pullback was expected. What's interesting, though, is if we go over into the stocks world, T-Shirt and I were talking about this right before we went live. S&P 500 blowing up here throughout this news. The NASDAQ has gone nuts. I mean, the stock market just continues today to skyrocket to new all-time highs. I think this kind of backs up even what Caleb is saying here. Just continual strength in the markets. You might be wondering, man, why are the stock markets going nuts, but Bitcoin isn't necessarily? Why isn't Bitcoin at all-time high yet? We've been waiting for it. There's a little word here I want you guys to learn. It happens from time to time in crypto, and from time to time, I mean literally every day. It's called manipulation. It happens in the world. You want to know what's happening right now, why they're manipulating it? Because Bitcoin has a bright future, and the institutional whale investors know that Bitcoin's bright. So if they can do anything to scare you and me, the old poor retail investor, to sell our Bitcoin off, they're going to do it. Watch, though, for the fireworks. They should be coming very soon. Cryptex with the super chat saying, smash the like. Shout out to Cryptex. Don't get to say that name very often, but he is an OG of OGs. Who actually, in case you guys didn't know, Cryptex helped build our Discord. You guys need to get into that Discord. There's some amazing things happening. We got some big announcements and some changes coming there, but none of it would have been possible without Cryptex. So shout out to him for sure. Let's move into a fun portion of the show here. Our second segment is going to cause a little bit of drama, a little bit of chaos, a little bit of arguing. Hopefully none of us jump screen to screen and punch each other in the throat because of it. We got to make some hard picks here, boys. I'm going to put some rules down. You cannot choose Bitcoin. We're talking about altcoins only. Chad, I want you to engage with us. Caleb, I'm going to start with you. If you could only choose 3 altcoins, and you can wrestle with them, so if you say more than 3, I'm not going to hold it against you, but you got to select 3. Which 3 would you choose? And I'm going to give you 2 categories. One category, you're choosing for the next year and a half, pretty much, or year and some change, pretty much the bull market. But you're expecting to sell these in 2025. The other one is what ones if you had to hold them until 2030. So we need to see some confidence in some volatility. What 3 coins would you choose to hold till 2030? I put you on the spot, but there you go. T-Streamer, I get to think, and we have to strategize and come up with arguments.
I don't know. I'm gonna as I kind of think about this cycle. I think Ondo is a great place to be.
That's a good one.
I like these AI coins. Still, Render to me looks still very, very strong. Still holding up. Just kind of going through this consolidation. Okay. I saw a username in the chat said I hate Link. I don't know where he got that impression. I do not hate Link. I might actually include that as my third. Okay. I want to be very clear. Though. Like the question is, if you had to invest in, I can invest in 3 altcoins, and I don't. Right? It's like right now. I'm really just in Bitcoin, and so like if I had to pick an altcoin to invest in until 2030 that could not be Bitcoin, it'd be USDT. Right? It's just like give me USDT.
Wow.
Okay. Just give me that.
He's one of those, everybody.
I don't have faith much on a 5-year time horizon. I think who knows how this stuff is going to shake out, and I hope it goes well. I'm not rooting against this stuff. I just don't have much conviction beyond a one cycle thesis, and certainly on a relative basis versus Bitcoin, I don't have that conviction. So for me, it's Bitcoin.
Yeah, it is a difficult question when you talk about the 2030, because ultimately what we're asking is what coins do you feel confident that despite another bear market probably coming in 2026 that you think can get back up in 2030? Not every altcoin will. Some will hit new highs, but maybe some of them, they just don't go too much higher than this current bull market. So we're kind of trying to, when you make this pick, you're thinking through what one is not just resilient and flashy in the here and now, but what's going to still be resilient and flashy here in 5 years and kind of, standing the test of time. I thought those are good ones. I mean, Ondo, Render, I think are very, very solid there. I think you threw Link kind of in there, and then USDT. Yeah. That's a very safe choice, USDT, I will say. I don't know how I feel about it, but those are his picks. Now, are you going to throw both of those into both for the bull market and for the 5 years, or you're just saying that was just for the bull market? Well,
I mean,
USDT would be the bull
I'm
market.
being facetious with the USDT. So if it was like gun to my head, I'd pick one. I'd pick Link on a 5-year basis.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yes.
Solid choices. Solid choices. I'll tell you guys mine in a second. T-Shroom, I told you about this earlier. Have you had time to think through your selections? Is it just spring? Is this like the homework assignment you got in high school and you forgot until the morning it was due?
Mm-hmm.
What are your picks here?
Because you can't pick Bitcoin, which is tough because I don't want to even think about this without knowing that I'll be able to hold Bitcoin. But I suppose I would go ahead and put Ethereum up there, considering it's in line. It's the only other cryptocurrency with an ETF, both in the United States and Hong Kong. And then I would also say ChainLink, right? So not as interesting there because that's probably somewhat predictable for the BROZ.
Yeah.
But then the third one, it's kind of, Caspa comes to mind, AVAX comes to mind. I think in the final analysis, I probably take the safer route and go AVAX.
I like it.
I think that'll be a high flyer, and it'll be able to preserve value through the bear market, as well as have a really good bull market as well. But Caspa is definitely a close fourth.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now that's your this bull market, or that's the next 5 years?
Yeah, I would say that those are long-term holds in my opinion in general.
Okay.
Yeah, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to go ahead and sell off some AVAX and some ChainLink potentially at the top of the bull market, start to DCA out of AVAX. Probably at this point I'm probably not going to DCA out of Bitcoin. But AVAX, Ethereum, maybe even Caspa probably take some profits starting in summer of 2025, late summer.
Okay. All right. So good answers, and I think you're going to stick with it. I don't know if you guys fully understood my question, so I'll give my answers. I did want to say KV in chat. He said, "Hey Tim, you promised you would look at Link Chart this afternoon." This morning stream, literally as I hit the outro button, he left a super chat. So KV, I have not forgotten you. We will do ChainLink. We don't miss super chats, but when you give a super chat literally as I'm hitting the outro button, I cannot read it. We will do ChainLink TA here in a second. Let's just start it off here, ladies and gentlemen. We saw it from Caleb. We saw it from T-Shroom. And I'm going to make this official. It's going to be the only one that all three of us agree on. And to me, it's got to be your clear number one choice. ChainLink, not only for the next 12 months in the bull market, but I got to go ahead and hold this one till 2030. I can't not stop being bullish on ChainLink, everything they're going to do. I still think they'll melt faces. Now, here's where we'll see some split, because there's two on here that I actually really, really like, but for different reasons. Caleb said Ondo. Ondo is going to be my shorter term hold in this bull market. So I got ChainLink at number one for both my 12-month and 5-year holds. Ondo is going to fit the bill on my 12-month because, again, this is a bull market with a lot of institutional adoption. BlackRock has backed them and said, hey, this is one of our favorite real-world assets. You got to love it. However, there's a coin that T-Shroom said that I'm going to say, you know what? That's my better 5-year hold, and that's going to be Ethereum. I think T-Shroom's absolutely right. I just think there's a lot more gains in Ondo over the next 12 months. But when all the pieces kind of get shuffled around and I'm thinking about the next 5 years, all the ups and downs, I'm not saying I don't have faith in Ondo, and I probably will continue to have Ondo into 2030. But I think if I had to choose one of those, it'd be Ethereum for my longer-term 5-year hold. Ethereum's not going to make my 12-month. It's going to make my 5-year. So I got Link for sure. Ethereum's going to 5 years. Ondo's going in my 12-month. For this next one, I'm a little torn. I think I want to go Caspa for my short-term last pick. It's really close between like Caspa. Oh, you know what the other one that... Man, you know my fourth one I would put is Stacks. Stacks is very intriguing for me to put in that 12-month one. I don't know if I can... Yeah, username put it in chat rather than he said end it with Stacks. I'll do this. All right, because I love them both so much. Stacks goes into my 12-month. Caspa is going to go into my 5-year. I think Caspa will still be here in 5 years doing some amazing things. I put a tweet out today. Guys, Caspa is already doing some great things. Back up at $17, I believe, today, back up at 17. I think it got to 18. However, it is not even listed on some of the most profound exchanges. Just wait until Coinbase gets a hold of Caspa. It will come. It will come. Wait till that happens, and you're going to see some parabolic moves. The other one I'll say, and some people are going to not like this, the honorable mention on the long-term hold, and people are sleeping on it. I don't think it'll have the greatest returns in this bull market, but give us until 2030. I think Cardano should be up there for a long-term hold as well. The king of decentralization in the altcoin world, and people are underappreciating decentralization right now. Wait until 2030. I think its day will come. Here's what I'm gonna do. I want you guys to rank. You know what? We're gonna hurt some feelings today. Rank whose portfolio you like the best in chat. I want to see Caleb. Type out Caleb Franzen, T-Shroom, or Tim in chat. You know what? I forgot we have a poll system. Crux, can you get a poll going for me? Thank you very much, Lee. I'll tell you this, though. I like everyone's portfolio. You can't go wrong. Render, I don't want to give disrespect to Render. Great pick. It's my favorite AI. I just think there's some real-world asset stuff that's pretty cool as well. And then you said AVAX, T-Shroom, same thing. Real-world assets, go real-world assets. I just think there's some of those other coins will have better gains than AVAX, probably. With that said, that's going to kind of wrap up this section. As we kind of get out of this section, move into the next one. Very controversial topic. T-Shroom, you're back. We've not had a factoid of the day for 6 days now. 7 days, actually, I think.
Ooh.
Let's almost let something slip. Did the elf, he went on vacation with you. People don't know, the elf is T-Shroom's adopted son. This happened about a month ago. It was really cool. He went on vacation with you. Did he come back and did he give us a factoid of the day?
He did, but the factoid of the day would best be suited after the story, I would say.
Oh,
after a final story. Yeah.
All right. Well, with that said, guys, smash a like, hit subscribe. We gotta have some sort of intermission. Let's talk about our sponsor of the day, and I didn't have the link up here, so I gotta click into it, guys. The sponsor of today's show, you can go and share my link here, T-Shroom. It is Arculus wallet, the greatest cold wallet out there. Again, we're talking a lot about long-term gains here. We're talking about cryptos that are going to explode in price. If you guys are excited, you need to have a cold wallet. Why? Because it does not matter one bit if all of your gains get wiped from your account because you leave all of your crypto on centralized exchanges. If it's not your coin, it's not your keys, not your crypto, until money moves into a cold wallet for you, there is a good chance that something bad could happen along the way. Protect yourself. Get an Arculus wallet today. And when you use BROZ10, BROZ10, you can get 10% off this cold wallet. Check out Arculus. Shout out to them again for sponsoring the channel, keeping the lights on. This is why we come to you every single day. Check them out. All right, T-Shroom, let's jump into our third and final topic. We got to talk a little bit. And if you guys don't like him, stick around. It's completely fine. You know, there's a thing that's okay with when you disagree with someone, you can still listen to them. Oh, that's a cool thing about America that we need to bring back. We're going to be talking about Donald Trump and some recent comments he's made. T-Shroom, what do we got here?
Absolutely. Well, I thought the best way to cover this one would just be to look at the actual headlines that are kind of swirling around. This one 2 hours ago from Fortune. Donald Trump's latest pro-crypto push includes courting Bitcoin miners at Mar-a-Lago. Trump says all Bitcoin mining should be in the U.S. in his latest embrace of crypto. That one from Forbes. CoinDesk said Donald Trump says he wants all remaining Bitcoin to be made in the USA. Yeah. Very, very interesting. And then MSNBC said Trump touts Bitcoin mining completes cryptocurrency flip-flop. So finding a way to kind of make this a negative about Donald Trump there. MSNBC, not a huge shocker. And the last one I'll read here from Bloomberg, Trump meets Bitcoin miners in his latest pro-crypto overture. So there's a lot to say about this one, but basically the facts are this. Led by TerraWolf, up nearly 20% at one point. Bitcoin mining stocks rose amid former President Donald Trump saying that the rest of Bitcoin should be mined in the U.S. The likely Republican nominee also suggested Bitcoin mining might be the last line of defense against central bank digital currencies. Of course, whether or not he's right about that Only time will tell. I certainly believe it's true, but yeah, Tim, this is an interesting one. We're seeing how the media is actually pouncing on this pretty heavily. With we don't see a lot of crypto headlines from MSNBC, so that is pretty interesting for sure. But the biggest thing that sticks out to me here, obviously, is that this is bullish, right? And we don't necessarily see Bitcoin skyrocketing. We saw the miners getting a nice bid to the upside. But yeah, Tim, what do you think about this? Do you think that Trump's right? And do you think that trying to incentivize mining in the United States is the right move?
Before I answer, I got to throw it to our guest, Caleb. Any strong feelings, any strong thoughts about all this Trump crypto headlines?
I think Trump is going to win the election this year.
Nice.
I think that crypto, increasingly so, is likely going to act as a proxy for his likelihood for winning the election, because he and the Republican Party continue to align with crypto and specifically with Bitcoin and be anti-CBDC. And we just do not have that sign from the Democratic Party. In fact, it's been the exact opposite. It's been adversarial more than anything else, right? And so I think that the crypto market, whether we like it or not, guys, is going to act as a proxy for Trump's likelihood for winning the election. And so I think, because I think Trump is going to win the election, and I think that the odds of that are going to increase in the months ahead, I think that most likely crypto is going to do very well in that environment. So again, I think that's another kind of accretive catalyst that we have. Whether you like him or not, there's going to be a lot of people who are also going to be single issue voters on this exact topic. Maybe many people who were previously libertarian and weren't going to vote for Trump and just not planning to vote this year are now going to be doing that. So I don't know. I think it's something to think about. I don't like talking about politics. I don't like thinking about the market implications for politics. But the fact of this, we are in an election year. It kind of matters in the short term. Over the long run, it doesn't matter for markets. Whether you look at Democratic candidates or leadership or Republican leadership, presidential cycles, asset returns are strong during all periods, right? So as we think about that specifically, but from a short-term catalyst perspective, I think that this alignment is going to do very well for crypto, most likely.
Listen, I think a great thing to even look at there in chat, if you guys are reading chat, there's a lot of people, and no ill will or hatred. There's a lot of people just absolutely love Trump. I think we have a lot of supporters of the channel who love Trump. We also have a lot of supporters who hate it. For example, Eric Wallen just put in chat, I hate Trump and he has my vote. I think that's how a lot of people have kind of come to feel now, or especially over the last couple of months, looking at our options. Is it just me, or every single election do our choices get worse and worse for presidency? Maybe it's just me, but I remember being young and thinking and listening to older people, this is my parents and others, and just be like, oh, we're going to vote for this person, but we really wish we could have voted for this person. We don't really like either one of them, yada, yada. And just every single time, it just gets worse and worse and worse. That is the world of politics. I think the biggest thing for me, I'll take a little bit of, a devil's advocate perspective from anyone who loves Trump. It is interesting. The switch, the 360 that Trump has done, or not 360, that's all the way back around, the 180 that Trump has done, it really wasn't necessarily that long ago. We're talking about a year and a half, 2 years, where Trump made some pretty strong anti-Bitcoin, anti-crypto statements, talking about how much he loves the US dollar, yada, yada, yada. A lot of people weaponize that against him. It's crazy. You look at it now, it's a completely different person. Not only does he say he's going to defend the rights of crypto, now he's saying these things like America needs to be it place where every single Bitcoin left is made and being mined here in the United States. I'll tell you guys right now, I think I appreciate the sentiment he's coming from. I don't think that's a good idea. In the same way, here a couple of years ago, we were very worried about when China looked like it could have had a dominance on mining. As an American, I don't want the American people the American nation to have a dominance on Bitcoin mining. In fact, that's one of the beauties of Bitcoin is the decentralization even of the mining. I think it's very good that we have miners in China and America and Russia and South, let's go Peru and in Brazil and in Canada and in England and in Paraguay and in Portugal. And you get my point here. The more diversified, the more spread out the mining, the stronger Bitcoin stays defended, because you guys remember the fear. Maybe some of you don't. There was a period, I believe in 2022, maybe it was late 2021, but I believe it was 2022, where at one point, China housed, what is it, more than like 70% of the mining, the Bitcoin mining in the world. Which means if the government had ever decided to confiscate all of those miners and force them to do the will of the Chinese government, and that's something very plausible, that could have been absolutely detrimental to Bitcoin as a whole. So it was a very good thing when it was weird when China got anti-Bitcoin and the miners had to split and go to other countries. It actually was something very, very good for Bitcoin. And again, I'm an American, but I don't want that same thing here. Even if, let's say, Trump is pro-Bitcoin, he's not going to do anything. If all the Bitcoin mining comes to America and is centralized here, and then our next president is a very anti-crypto person who takes advantage of that situation and grabs control, I don't want that to happen either. So I appreciate the bullishness from Trump on Bitcoin, but I disagree with him that we should have all Bitcoin mining happen in the United States. With that said, though, I agree with Caleb on the sentiment he said earlier. If you guys hate politics and us discussing politics, don't get me wrong, I hate it too. We have to. Like in the world of crypto, if you want to be serious about investing in crypto and making sure you know what's happening, we have to talk about politics at this point. And this is just one further step. I mean, you guys vote for whoever you want to vote for. The investing bros will never tell you who you have to vote for. That's between you and the voting booth and God. I will say, though, the decision on between two parties, if you care about your crypto wealth and continue to build it, it's more and more looking like there's very, very much one clear choice for that selection. T-Shroom, what are your take when you see all of this? You're like probably the most outspoken lover of Trump I've ever met, right?
Something like that. Well, look, I mean, I think that we are kind of coming to a period where there's going to be a kind of a reframing of American politics. I think technology is undeniably much more advanced than in the 60s and certainly when the founding fathers were kind of crafting the United States political structure and kind of the rules and everything like this. I think that we will, like Donald Trump and Joe Biden are kind of like the last vestiges of this older political system, in my opinion. I think this, and this is kind of a broader perspective, I think that the White House after this election is going to be occupied by much more forward-looking, kind of tech-educated folks like Vivek Ramaswamy, and he gained a lot of popularity that this last year that didn't translate into ultimate polls being bullish for him at all. Barely getting into the primaries and barely getting, what was it, 3% in Iowa or whatever it was. But I think that the future of the White House is absolutely the Andrew Yangs, the Vivek Ramaswamys, folks who've spent time in Silicon Valley, which is really, in my opinion, kind of the actual bed of power in the West, in the United States. And I think that you're just going to continue to see kind of a coming together, a convergence of technology and government. And, blockchain is right there to help make sure that there's checks and balances to make sure that the technology doesn't overpower the will of the people. So there's a lot of gaps there that you can fill in for yourself. You might disagree with me. You might think that that the old way is going to continue, but I just don't. I think that a refresh is needed, and it's long overdue. And I think that Donald Trump being pro Bitcoin, it serves his his platform. It serves his voter base. And I think it makes all the sense in the world for him to be pro Bitcoin. I think part of him actually is. But to the extent that he really deeply understands Bitcoin, I think that he's probably in the early phases of that. So, but he's definitely getting a lot of votes, changing a lot of hearts and minds as a result of coming out pro Bitcoin.
Yeah, really quickly, we got to go over to the Bitcoin chart. Bitcoin is falling right now, actually eliminating all of the gains that we have had today. Didn't mean to cut you off there, T-Shroom. Just this is kind of happening live as we're going. We're back down below 68,000. Now, if you pull up the 1 hour chart, we are wrestling right around an area of an order block in the 1 hour smart trail, along with the take profit from a recent sell order here. So here's a great example of Luxago continuing just to crush it. Luxago doesn't have a bullish or bearish bias whatsoever. It's just reading the markets and predicting what will happen next. So this is something I don't want to use the term alarming, but it is interesting for sure. You can see here on the hourly chart, a lot of things going bearish. MACD, even though we're coming down to a level of support, the MACD looks like it wants to cross and go bearish. The RSI just dropped below the 50. That's something we've discussed a lot. Is often a pretty bearish move for any chart to cross below that level. Now, this is the 1 hour chart. We're talking about this could affect us over the next 12 to 24 hours. I always tell people when it comes to the FOMC, you're looking at about 12 to 24 hours after Jerome Powell's finished speaking for the volatility to really play out and do its thing. But as we move to higher time frames, let's take an eye on what's happening here. Big volume coming in here, by the way, as well. So a lot of people selling. I continue to think, though, this is shakeouts happening in the market. However, I have warned you before on this channel. Let's actually go to the daily chart for this one. I have told you when by the time this is all said and done, there is a chance we drop back down to 64,200. I wouldn't have thought the inflation numbers and what Jerome Powell said would be the catalyst for that happening. However, as far as the charts are concerned, again, they're not emotional. They don't necessarily always have to take into account what's happening in the news. They were continuing to say this $64,000 level looked like a very interesting one to be hit. If we also go over here to high block, let's refresh this. It's probably going to, is it signed out? No, we're good. All right, cool. Sometimes it signs me out and I have to go back and sign in. It's this whole frustrating thing. You guys can see here, if we zoom in, there's a lot of liquidity actually coming in. There's some coming here at 64, a decent amount of liquidity here within pretty much all of today's candles, coming in at about 62.7. So again, I'm not going to say that that's as far as we have to go, but it is interesting. We got a lot of longs. If the trades continue to move to the downside, you could see like a hawk mission to come down and liquidate all of these long positions. More than likely, I guarantee you, based off of when they popped up and the price action boosted up, these are probably liquidations of newer, younger holders who got a little too cocky, a little too hot with their long positions, and now they just put a seeker missile on this 62,600 that if the bears can mount up some more strength, we could see a long squeeze come all the way down to that level. There still is a lot of liquidity above us. Again, this is one of the reasons why I'm still very bullish, because I think the trades will eventually come up here and liquidate all of these shorts that have been building up for weeks now. But I wanted to bring that to your guys' attention just because the inflation data was good this morning, and even the stuff that I heard from Jerome Powell still makes me bullish on the long term. It does look like the markets are going to continue the little spree of volatility for the next at least day or so. That's pretty historical. Well, I'll remind you, though, we do have that precedence I mentioned this morning. I don't know if you guys knew this, T-Shroom or Caleb, but did you know the last four Fed meetings, we've seen the price of Bitcoin dip into the meeting based off of fear. And then even though Jerome Powell hasn't been overwhelmingly positive and what we call dovish because he's going up, we've seen Bitcoin go on to rally upwards of 20% following that situation. And if that were to happen again, if history were to repeat itself based off this move, we're talking about making a move up to about $80,000 for Bitcoin. So I thought that was really interesting. But again, got to continue to wait and see how this plays out over the next little bit. We told again our super chat for this morning, we will look at ChainLink TA here in a second. But now that Trump story is over, you said, T-Shroom, that the elf had a special one in play for us that we had to get through that story first. What is our factoid of the day today?
Yes, absolutely. Well, I was in Durango, Colorado, which is a very mountainous region of the United States. I live in Florida, so it's not very mountainous where I live. So we have the elf has conjured up a mountain factoid of the day, and it's brought to you all by Lux Algo, where you can supercharge your trading strategy. Check out the link in the description for Lux Algo. You also, when you sign up, you gain access to our trading channels in the paid Discord. So let's get into it. What country is Mount Everest in? Is it China, Nepal, and India, or China and Nepal? What do you all think?
Oh, crap. Oh, that's stupid. I know it's Nepal, but I don't know if it's India or China. So we can go ahead and eliminate A and C. Caleb, what do you think? I'm leaning towards
I know it, so I'm going to let you work it out.
Oh, you know it.
Uh-oh.
Oh, so now you're just over here. You get a week off, Caleb, and you come back on the Factoid of the day and you're flexing on me. Oh, you know the answer. All right, a lot of people saying D in chat, but then some people are saying B. So that was my 2. Okay, that doesn't help me at all. Mount Everest. I want to say China, but I feel like it's going to bite me. I'm going to go D. I'm going to say China and Nepal. I know it's Nepal, though, so that does make it a little easier. Caleb, am I right?
So the reason why I know this is because maybe like 2 months ago, I watched a movie called 7 Years in Tibet. It's with Brad Pitt.
Sounds good.
It's a really slow, boring movie, and I thought it was fictional. It was really good. You know, it was like, it's this like wholesome story. And then I found out, like, I thought a lot of it was fabricated. It's all based in like truth, and like it's a nonfiction book about this guy's life. He was this Austrian mountain climber who went to hike Everest, and like chaos ensued and the whole 9 yards. Anyways, so I ended up watching the whole movie. It's really good. 7 Years in Tibet, shameless plug. Go see it if you can. Came out many years ago, but it is D, China and Nepal.
All right. Okay. Caleb is going.
If we're wrong, then I'm going to cry.
It's D, China and Nepal. There you go. On the official Wikipedia, never gets it wrong. Mount Everest page here from Wikipedia, China and Nepal. How does it feel to be so smart, gentlemen?
Listen, it feels better for me because he came in knowing the answer, and I came in having to risk it all. So I feel very glorious.
Imagine for a second how embarrassing it would have been, though, if I got it wrong.
I know. I mean, after you said it, I was like, if we get this wrong, I'm going to cry.
I wouldn't be able to show myself on here anymore.
If you guys are proud of me and Caleb for getting this correct, you got to smash that like button. We have over 700 people watching right now. Phenomenal numbers. I don't know if my details are off. It does look like things are bugging up and down. We're about to hit 800 people watching, but I see only 193 likes. Maybe I'm seeing that wrong. This is the type of views we should have like 400 likes. Again, I kind of have that ratio of like half the concurrent. We should have those likes before we're done. That's kind of usually a good ratio. We need a lot of likes is my point here, guys. If you guys are enjoying the show, smash that like button. KV, if you are still in chat, buddy, I have not forgotten you. I am here. We're going to do some ChainLink TA. And unlike Bitcoin, well, is Bitcoin still white on the daily? It is a very sliver of white. A very small little, almost like a bearish hammer right there. ChainLink still has a decent little white candle here on the daily chart. Yes, it's pulled back here a little bit. We're hovering right below $16 on ChainLink. Now, moves here recently on the daily chart. We did cross below the daily smart trail that was bullish, that bullish support level. So now you are looking above us at the smart trail and the next level of resistance, if/when we get to being in a buy signal. Don't be surprised to see ChainLink wrestle for at least a little bit of time, somewhere in the realm of 18 to upwards. I don't even get quite to 19 before it has that wrestling is finished with it. At the moment, I do want you guys to know we're under a sell order, and the take profit is back down here at 1361, a level that we told you guys is that possibility for ChainLink to pull back, especially if we see like Bitcoin make its way back down towards 64. Wouldn't be surprised to see ChainLink take a little bit of a bath back down to 1350, 1360, where we have a major order block in play. It's also the take profit from the Lux Algo sell order right there. What are the oscillators saying? This should give you a little bit of positivity here. Stochastics, very overextended. The RSI, it fell back down, but is making its way back up. What I will need to see for bulls to feel like they're in control, let's get back above that 50 right there, right? That should give us some confidence that the bulls are back in control right there. What I do like, though, is the MACD slowly curving on the daily chart, and then we come in over here. The money flow after being negative and actually being under a very good sell order. Bearish momentum, a bearish reversal dot, and negative money flow back here on June 6th. We're seeing the money flow start to move sideways. The oscillator looks like it's slowing down. We've had a green reversal dot. Can we, in the next couple of days, get that momentum dot on the oscillator? Can we get the money flow going positive again? That is what we will need to see. But at the moment, I would have to say the bears, if you ask me right now, are the bears or bulls in control of ChainLink? The bears are in control of ChainLink on the daily basis, meaning for probably the next week or so, 2 weeks or so, the bears look like they're in control. But We are sitting at levels where we could see a reversal coming very, very soon. Let's see what the 4-hour is saying about it. We are under a buy signal now here on the 4-hour chart, but we're running into that smart trail. If that gets lost, watch out for $17 where we have a breaker block in play. These are going to be levels where there's a lot of selling happening on ChainLink or taking profit, better yet. But you can see here, good reversal right there on that order block that looks to be in play. I'm going to go ahead and still lean here, guys. ChainLink, I mean, I'm probably buying more ChainLink right now anyway, but there are subtle signs right now that if things don't get bullish quickly, come back in 24 hours, and we might need to talk about a pullback back down to 1360, a level we were just at here a little bit ago, not the end of the world whatsoever. But that is what we're seeing on ChainLink. I know you guys wanted to come in here and let me tell you guys ChainLink's about to go to the moon, and someday I will get to give you that kind of TA, just not today. It's 4 o'clock. We're going to try to do a much better job in the future of keeping this afternoon show closer to just an hour. But with T-Shroom being back and Caleb being here, we're going to run a little bit long today because I got to leave a little bit of room for questions on for Caleb to answer, since we only get him once a week. Go ahead and flood the chat right now with questions for Caleb for sure. If there's other ones, we'll answer them as well, but the priority will be Caleb-type questions. While we're waiting on those, Rydell Sosa says, Ondo hit 140 this morning, coming down now. Yeah, I talked about it this morning. Ondo, we had a community trade last week that the first trade, I'll show you again. It's not anything special here now. Our first trade actually got liquidated. The second trade, though, this morning did hit our take profit up here at 136. Could have waited a little bit longer, but there was some good resistance at that level. So, I forgot, T-Shroom. We have so many giveaways to give away. We have so many giveaways. We have a community trade to give away that's worth $140. We have a $100 giveaway for hitting 20,000 in general, but then also we are going to give 20 people. It's going to be a lot of work for us. 20 people are going to win $50 just for our celebration, and thank you to you guys for getting us over 20,000 subscribers. Massive news coming very, very soon. Massive news about changes we're doing in the Discord, changes we're doing to interact with you guys more in the community. We got one-on-ones and more educational content coming your way. So you want to stick around. You want to find out more about it. But before we get those questions, I know there's going to be some here for Caleb. To enter to win any of those giveaways, except for the community one, to enter to win 20,000, we just need you guys to go in Discord and say 20K with an exclamation mark. That's it. Go in our Discord right now. It's a free Discord. Comment in the general section, 20K exclamation mark, and you will be entered to win either $100 or $50. 20 of you will get that. That's going to be awesome. For our community chat, there's so much going on here. For community, you got to go in and type Ondo exclamation mark, and I'll choose one of you guys to win the $140 of our community trade. Look forward to that in the future, though. In the future, to be eligible to win community trades, and we're doing a lot more of them, you will need to be signed up with BloFin. We're going to add a section of Discord where when you sign up with our BloFin link and give us your trading ID, we will put you in on our Discord, and you'll be eligible for giveaways on those community trades. That was a lot. I'm going to get some water, and we're going to ask Caleb some questions. I did see one earlier that piqued my interest because I actually was asking – I was thinking to myself the same question. Where is it? I lost it. I lost it a lot. Oh, Caleb, how many – oh, well, I misread the room. I saw how many ladies. I didn't read the rest of the question. This is a family show, Drew P., and we love you, but we're not going to ask him suggestive questions. Like, I'll ask you this, Caleb. Are there any special ladies in your life that are making you just, radiant and happy? Any European gals catching your eye?
Yeah, plenty. I'm dating.
Nice.
Come on.
Nice.
Listen, it's a good world there. We're big. Me and T-Shroom now. T-Shroom with his years of experience in marriage now. We're big proponents of marriage, but you got to date around first. You want to select the right one because marriage is a big commitment. Big commitment. You don't just give that promise to any old lady out there. You got to find a special one. So you keep dating, Caleb. You find the right woman. Let us know. We're coming to the wedding.
I'm trying to find an Eastern European wife, my guy.
There we
Nice.
go. I like it. All right. Hey, Caleb, username here. I love how I think every time he asks you a question, he starts.
Yeah, he always starts that way.
How does one get there? The flow game to top shelf. Also, how cubed is your analysis? And should I, of course, buy Ondo? Gotcha. Should I buy Link? Okay. A lot of things there. Ultimately there, I don't know how you want to answer that.
Do I
if you
give
have-
away the hair alpha? That's the question. I will.
Yes.
Okay.
Is there everything okay?
Coconut oil. That's pretty much it.
Oh.
I
that's
apply it
simple.
like every few weeks, just a little bit, and that's the move. I don't shampoo super often. I obviously clean my hair, but the less you shampoo, in my opinion, the better. And coconut oil is the way to go.
There we go.
But other than that, I don't use any products in my hair. So,
Okay.
that's basically it. Regarding cubic analytics, it is very cubed analysis. I highly recommend you come sign up. If you DM me on X, I will be happy to send you a discount code to sign up to premium. So don't hesitate to reach out. You can ask me any questions about it. I could try to provide you some samples, whatever the case is. And if you're not interested in paying for my analysis, you want to get more acclimated to the type of work that I do, sign up for free. I have a free newsletter. It goes out every single Saturday. I do not miss. And you'll learn a lot. I promise.
Yes, links are in the description for that.
And he also asked about Ondo. Yeah, I guess buy it. I don't know. Do whatever you want.
Yep. But do whatever you want as long as you're smashing the like button. Also, we're going to be having bro time right after the show.
We are
on Discord.
Bedridden. Bedridden's out there in Europe, giving you a little bit of advice here.
Really?
Said, Caleb, come to Sweden. Hot chicks here. I don't think he wants to marry a chicken. He's looking for a female, Bedridden. I'm a dad.
I'm a quarter
now, so
Swedish.
You're
a quarter Swedish, so I got to make it out there. Yeah.
There we go.
Very cool.
A lot more questions about your personal life and your hair than I thought. Thought there'd be more questions about coins. Here's one direction all of us. B-Ball Golf 72 says, if there was a coin called hydration, would you guys be buying? Listen, I think it's in our contract, T-Shirm. I think we have to take that as a sponsorship.
Yeah.
If a coin was called hydration.
I think so. Yeah.
Because we are the biggest supporters of hydration of any crypto YouTube channel out there. In fact, we're vying for the top crypto channel in support of hydration. If you represent a company or know someone who represents a company that supports hydration, give them our email.
Absolutely.
Or give them a link to us, and we would be very happy to have a sponsor to boast our love for hydration. Logistics says, Eastern European wife, hey, not that, I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know what that one says, honestly. Username says, I got that free newsletter. Maybe I'll reach out for the paid. Absolutely, username. You should. Guys, we're entering into a space right now where crypto is going to go parabolic. And a lot of people are very worried about what coin do I invest in or what stock do I invest in or yada, yada. And by the way, you guys are going to get a lot of alpha on that. But I was on the show with Stocks with Josh the other day, and he said something that reminded me, too many people are trying to ask the question, what coin should I invest in? And they don't think about how they should invest in themselves and their education. And I'm saying that of course, you're going to learn, you're going to pay to be a part of, maybe some one-on-ones or some learning stuff, education stuff with me and T Shroom. You'll pay to be a part of Caleb's group. But what you're not paying just to get some useless information. You're paying for education that allows you to then know how to select those right projects and know when to get in, when to get out for yourself. So first of all, if you love the stuff that we promote, the Investing Bros and Caleb, support both companies, buy products. But also, again, remember, we're going to be putting out the best information to help educate you guys. Invest in yourself. That sometimes is the greatest investment that will lead to riches beyond your wildest dreams. Make sure, go check out the free version of the newsletter from Caleb. But if it piques your interest and you want to know more, invest in yourself and go get into his paid Patreon. CryptoSec, I said, just put 10K in every coin ever. You won't miss any of them. Okay, I don't know what that one is. All right, well, before we get going, because we're going to wrap up today's stream, Caleb, anything you want to say on the way out to the fine Investing Bros community?
What do I want to say? I think disinflation is firmly intact. We had really great data this morning in the CPI. I expect to see that continue in the months and quarters ahead. And why is that so important, you guys? Because disinflation was one of the primary bullish catalysts for the market in the second half of 2022, talking about the stock market, going into 2023 for all assets, right? And so disinflationary environments historically produce some of the strongest financial asset returns. And so it's been vital for investors to get the macro picture right. And the macro picture, very plain and simply, can be characterized by two things: disinflation and resilient and dynamic macroeconomic dynamics. Okay, it's that simple. So long as those things continue to hold up, so long as we continue to see evidence of disinflation, so long as the broader economy continues to experience positive real GDP growth and the labor market stays resilient and dynamic, this bull market can last, right? It's that simple. The thing is, markets are a forward-looking pricing mechanism. So if we fundamentally see characteristics of the uptrend change, that could be a sign that price is warning us about fundamentals. Look at the VIX, look at credit spreads. If those things continue to stay at or near multi-year lows, that is a bullish catalyst for asset prices. That means that as of right now, things are all good, all clear. The bull market is likely to persist. And guess what? The VIX and credit spreads are at multi-year lows. Those things continue to take place. So I would really just tell people, have faith in this market environment, but continue to validate that the things that are causing this uptrend are still intact, right? We can't just be blindly bullish. We need to be objective. We need to be data-driven, and we need to be looking at the weight of the evidence. And so far, the weight of the evidence continues to tell me to have a bullish bias on the market. So I'm going to continue to be bullish.
Boom. There we go. Caleb, thank you once again for being here. T-Shroom, welcome back. So good to have you back. The rest of you guys, we love you. Take care. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Adios.
Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots, stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Army pipe, lethal on trade. Entries and exits, worthy of praise. Tim, the professor of the TA. Shout it out loud on the PA. T-Shroom's news got the word. Doing better than what he deserves. Beamer, leave no evidence. Soon fly coop with his dividend. Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots, stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros.